My name is Hannah Brooks. I'm 32 now, but 4 years ago I stood outside my parents' house in Columbus, Ohio, holding one suitcase, a prenatal folder, and whatever was left of the life I thought I had. My mother said the last thing she'd ever say to me before locking the door. "You made your choice, now live with it." My father didn't argue. He didn't hug me goodbye. He just turned and walked back inside, like I'd already stopped existing to him. I was 5 months pregnant. 2 weeks earlier, the father of my baby had promised we'd figure it out together. Then his phone went dead, his apartment emptied out, and every plan we'd made disappeared with him. One day, I had a future. The next, I didn't. That night, I slept in my 10-year-old Honda outside a grocery store, counting the $40 in my wallet, trying to decide if it should go toward gas or food. It couldn't stretch to both. I put my hand on my stomach. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I don't know how yet, but I'll find a way." Losing the house wasn't the part that broke me. It was realizing my parents cared more about what people would say than about me. An unmarried, pregnant daughter didn't fit the picture they'd built. My mother's church friends couldn't know. My father's business partners couldn't ask questions. It was simpler for them to erase me than to defend me. After a few weeks on a friend's couch, I found a basement apartment. Stained carpet, pipes that leaked when it rained, windows too small to let in real daylight. I did accounting work during the day and delivered groceries at night, until my doctor told me flatly that the stress was putting the pregnancy at risk. Then, on an otherwise ordinary Tuesday, a certified letter showed up. The return address belonged to a law office I'd never heard of. My late grandfather's name was on the envelope. I had no idea that opening it would change everything. The envelope sat on my kitchen table for almost an hour before I could make myself open it. I assumed it was a bill, or a collections notice, or one more piece of bad news. It wasn't. It was a request from a downtown law firm to discuss the estate of my grandfather, Samuel Brooks. I almost laughed out loud. My parents had cut Grandpa Samuel out of our lives when I was a teenager. Always described him as stubborn, difficult, not worth the trouble. I hadn't spoken to him in over 15 years. I couldn't imagine why he'd have thought of me at all. 2 days of curiosity later, I went in. The office was on the second floor of an old brick building across from the courthouse. Nothing fancy, but it felt quiet in a way I needed. An older attorney, Mr. Carter, shook my hand. "Are you here on your own?" he asked, glancing at the empty chair beside me. "I've been on my own for a while," I said. Something in his expression shifted. Not pity exactly, more like he understood. He slid a sealed envelope across the desk. "Your grandfather wrote this about 6 months before he passed. He wanted you to have it in person." The handwriting took me straight back to Saturdays in his workshop, sitting on a wooden stool while he balanced the books for his repair business. He used to say, "Money comes and goes, Hannah. Your reputation is the only investment that keeps growing." I opened the letter. The first line took the air out of me. "If you're reading this, your parents have already shown you who they are." Before I could read further, my phone buzzed. Mom, then Dad, then Mom again. 5 calls in under 2 minutes, followed by a text. "Don't sign anything until we get there. We need to explain." I looked up at Mr. Carter, confused. He folded his hands calmly. Had a feeling they'd suddenly remember they had a daughter. I didn't understand it yet. But my grandfather hadn't just left me a letter. He'd left me the thing my parents had spent years trying to bury. Mr. Carter waited until my phone finally went quiet. "I think you should know why your parents remembered you so quickly." He opened a folder and spread documents across the table. Property deeds, corporate filings, ownership certificates for a company called Brooks Industrial Solutions. My grandfather owned this? "He founded it 30 years ago," Mr. Carter said. "Most people assumed he sold it when he retired. He didn't. 18 months before he died, he moved his controlling shares into a family trust." "So who inherited it?" He looked at me. "You did." I couldn't speak for a moment. A week earlier, I'd been doing math on whether I could afford rent. Now, I apparently owned a company I hadn't known existed. Mr. Carter handed me a second envelope. "He wanted you to read this after you knew the truth. Businesses can be rebuilt. Money can be earned again, but integrity is priceless. If you ever get the chance to lead, remember what it felt like to stand alone and build something that protects people instead of using them. I asked the question that had been sitting in my chest since I walked in. How did my parents even find out? The trust requires formal notification of the family, he said. The moment they learned the company had gone to you and not them, the calls started. I never seriously considered selling it. My first week, I walked the warehouse floor and got the doubtful looks I expected. A 30-year-old with no manufacturing background, suddenly in charge. I didn't pretend to have answers I didn't have. I asked questions, learned the departments one at a time, and let people see me show up. Trust came slowly, the way it's supposed to. 3 years later, on the day we closed our best quarter yet, my receptionist called my office. "Ms. Brooks, your parents are here. They're saying it's urgent." I stood by the window for a moment before answering, watching the forklifts move across the floor below. 3 years earlier, I'd walked into this building certain I'd fail. Now the company had doubled its revenue and expanded into 3 states. "Send them in." My mother came in first, the same composed smile she wore at church. My father followed a step behind, quieter than I remembered him, his shoulders lower. Neither of them asked how I was. Neither asked about my daughter. My mother looked around the office. "You've built something remarkable." "I had to," I said. "No one else was going to." My father cleared his throat, eyes down. "The construction company's gone. We lost everything. The bank's about to take the house." He paused. "We need your help." Neither of them said, "I'm sorry." Neither mentioned the day they'd locked the door behind their pregnant daughter. They just saw the woman standing in front of them now, and what she could do for them. I opened my desk drawer and took out Grandpa Samuel's letter. I'd kept it close since the day I inherited the company. I read one line out loud. "Never confuse guilt with responsibility. The people who walked away from you don't earn a place back in your life just because you made it." Neither of them answered. I folded the letter and set it down. "I don't hate you," I said. "But forgiveness doesn't undo what happened. This company supports hundreds of families now. My responsibility is to them, and to the daughter you never once asked about." My mother's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, I saw something that looked like regret instead of pride. They left without another word. That evening, I picked up my daughter from school and drove past Grandpa Samuel's old workshop. 4 years ago, my mother told me, "You made your choice. Now live with it." She was right. I did, and it turned out to be the best decision I ever made.